Hello everybody, my name is Steve Soderquist and I am the author of the novel Farmhouse, a psychological horror book that I worked on approximately 4 or 5 years ago is when I started it, when I was living at an actual farmhouse is where the idea came from. And it's now published through Foundations, which is a company that I co-own with my wonderful fiancée Laura Ranger. And I'm going to read you an excerpt out of this from chapter 5. And to give you a little bit of a setup, this has to do with one of the main protagonists. Her name is Christy. And this is after she had just gotten married to her husband, who she finds out is abusive, and some not so good things happen to him a little bit later on in the book, but you're going to have to buy a copy to find out that. So without further ado, this is from Farmhouse. I hope you enjoy it. Want to have fun? He asked his new bride. She was still in the slip of the wedding gown that she had borrowed from her mama. They were at the Portman Hotel overlooking Highway 95. It was all they could afford. Sure, she responded. She loved him very much. She would do anything for him. Yes, indeed she would. He walked over to where she stood smiling and grabbed her by the arms, lifting her up. He was an impressive man and large all around. Ow, Christy cried. You're hurting me, babe. I know, he replied silkily, but you're in for the ride of your life, baby. She saw by the look in his eyes that this was not the John Stewart she had spent time with at the park, not the John who had once took her out to the movies and made her laugh so hard she had to spit out her Coke because he was imitating voices of the characters in the movie Shrek. Not the same man who dropped to his one knee in a crowded restaurant and asked her to be his wife. His love and his commitment for the rest of their lives. He picked her up like a rag doll and tossed her on the bed. Her head smacked loudly against the headboard and he laughed at that. He laughed. John, please, she began. My head hurts. I hit it. I need to use the bathroom. John snapped his fingers at her and made a little twirling gesture with his first finger. She looked blankly at him in complete non-understanding. He then did something he promised he would never do to her, once on a summer's eve when they were by the riverboats of the Ohio Bank having a picnic, and then making out by the beginning of the sunset. Something he swore to her on that night he would never do. He swung his arm back and he slapped her hard enough to break her upper lip. The astonishment in her eyes as her hand fluttered up like a bird startled from its nest to her mouth pleased him. Christie's astonishment went from shock to pain and then to disbelief in the space of 3 seconds. John stood over her smiling, the victor of this small battle. Christie, who had many times tenderly held the hand that just struck her, covered her face and burst into tears. Hey, 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 he said, none of that. You're mine now. You do what I say and when I say it. You got that? He smiled down at her with his new grin and made the twirling gesture with his finger again. Christie only saw this through a kaleidoscope of tears, blending his hand with the lights of the hotel room. She tasted her own blood. I think that's enough for right now. I'll let you pick up a copy of your own at the links listed down below, foundationbooks.com, for a paperback or hardcover if you wish. Or you can go to Amazon to pick up your Kindle version. It's also available on Barnes & Noble and iTunes and all other whole bunch of wonderful retail sellers. Just go ahead and just Google it, you'll find it. But I want to thank you for taking this time with me to hear my excerpt from this book. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly enjoyed reading it to you. And leave a light on. Bye.